and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And David, in today's episode we are going to be looking at
this.
which is...
Any guesses, Mike? Well, you do know because you were listening to it 10 seconds ago. But
yeah,
that's a rhetorical question.
No, it's a really stylish, very, very cool...
Shoebox.
Yes, made out of
magnesium alloy with bits of aluminium, I think.
A magnesium alloy shoebox. So. No, it's a Mission Cyrus CD player.
Wrong.
It's not a Mission Cyrus. It's just a Cyrus CD player because it was no longer Mission in those days, wasn't it?
That's right.
Spot the deliberate mistake. In fact, this must have been one of their first players post-Mission. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was, technically, it was their first integrated CD player because they did the Discmaster and DAC Master.
Of course they did, yes.
Which is the transport and DAC combination.
Yeah, yes.
Which, strangely enough, the Discmaster looks identical to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's walk back to 1994, I think it is, isn't it? So at that time, CD was kind of going a bit bitstream, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
So you had, in retail, the thing running off the shelves was the Marantz CD63 and the sort of, CD63 KI signature, those kind of things.
Yeah.
CD72, that sort of era, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And those were all bitstream players, all Philips-based bitstream players.
Yes, that was kind of the new thing, wasn't it?
It was.
Avant-garde thing to have, wasn't it? It was a good bitstream player.
So the weird thing about this was it wasn't bitstream.
No, sure,
so
sure.
It used a analog devices AD1861 DAC, which was an 18-bit 8 times oversampling.
Right.
Which was the height of unfashionability.
Yes. Yes.
If that's a word, I think I've just made a word up. So it was an interesting decision on Cyrus's part to do a multi-bit player in 1994 when everyone was going to 1-bit to bitstream.
Sure.
And all the Sony machines and others at that time were also going to bitstream. They'd gone to bitstream in '89, I think, 90.
Yeah, and kind of the Meridian players as well, where they were sort of around about that era. 208 was probably a little bit earlier, but the players like that,
that's right,
which were very well respected.
That's right. So they had used the Philips 16-bit 4 times oversampling.
Yeah.
Then they went to Philips bitstream, didn't they?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
So it was an odd player, and it's part of the thing that makes this, I think, a very special classic CD player. So another thing is it has the Philips CDM9 mechanism, which was arguably the last kind of pure original style single beam mechanism. After that, they started using mechanisms which were much more kind of suited to CD-ROMs and that type of work. So the mechanism in this owes a lot more to something like the CD100, CD101, that kind of early sort of mech than the later players. So it's a strange brew, I think.
It is.
Is the way to say it.
This is yours, I take it.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what possessed you to buy it?
I'd rather not talk about my mental problems, Mike. So, unless this
did you just get an eBay bargain, or did you just think,
Is this Psychology Riff?
I can't live without one of these.
So, it was a curio. So I remember wanting one at the time, and I never got around to it. I actually bought new from Cyrus. Probably around 97, 98, a dAD7, which was the successor to this, which had the disc tray loading thing.
On the front,
But as eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed, and I'm sure
observant amongst you,
I'm sure we've got at least one who is. This is a top loader, and the reason I've got the top up at the moment, the hood, the bonnet up. Is to show you
a bit of a party trick.
Yeah,
this was very unusual actually, because not many players had one of these.
I will now demonstrate.
It's very sexy.
This is basically as close as you're going to get to Tomorrow's World on YouTube these days. So there we go.
It's got a puck.
There you go, Mike. Would you like to show the audience?
It's got a very lovely magnetic puck.
Yeah,
look at that. That's really cool.
So isn't that?
Yeah,
isn't
that's
that
really
clever?
Nice, isn't it? I do like that.
Yeah,
we like a good puck.
So we do, and we there you go. Mike is placing it on the spindle.
Yes,
and it doesn't fall off. That's clever.
Yeah.
So they thought of everything. And yeah, so there we go. It's got a CDM9 mech, kind of old school CDM9 mech with a puck. And I'm not sure if there are any other such CD players with CDM9 mechs and pucks.
That's a good pop triv question.
It is,
there, isn't it? So this is cool. So I tease you a little bit as to it being yours, but I completely get it why you bought this, because one, I think it looks like it could be a brand new player.
Yeah.
Maybe the only dead giveaway is when you plug it in and it doesn't have, you know, an OLED display or something like that. It's got a bit of an old-fashioned sort of LCD, but that's fine. I really like it. Yeah. But it's beautifully made. We said a moment ago, it's magnesium alloy case, which is it feels really solid when you're using it. Yeah. But that's not it, is it? It sounds great.
Absolutely.
It sounds absolutely super.
Sounds really good for its age. I mean, it's 26 years old, I think.
Yes.
Maybe soon to be 27.
Sure. Sure.
And you know, it's one of those things that you think, well, has digital really got any better?
It does make you wonder, and I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you my caveat here. Yeah. I'm not sure how much better transports have got, but DACs have definitely improved.
Yeah.
And I think we proved that earlier by just using the transport here and using an external DAC, and it sounded really, really good. Yeah. And exactly all the things you've just said. It's actually a really gorgeous transport. Yeah. You know, we've got a really good mechanism, single beam laser. Yeah. You know, this lovely top loader with the puck. Yeah. And it's got coaxial output. That's it, isn't it? You don't have anything else but coaxial.
Yeah. Well, plus obviously analog.
And,
RCA analogs, obviously.
But to get the ones and zeros.
Yeah.
But it actually is a fabulous sounding machine. So we gave it a bit of a blast earlier. We played it with some various different musics. We played it as a standalone, but for me it really came alive with the external DAC. Yeah. And I think you were saying that wasn't hugely expensive, was it?
Yeah, I think it was about £600 in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And it was taken, as we said, from the separate transport and DAC combination, which was the DAC Disc Master and DAC Master.
Yes.
And I think that combo
Disc and DAC
exactly was roughly 1,200 quid in 95-ish.
Yes.
So that would be, I don't know, 3-4 grand or something now, possibly.
Sure. But eBay these days is your friend, isn't
exactly.
it? Exactly.
Yeah. So
and also, well, I mean, let's talk about that first. So what are we looking at here? Can you pick one of these up for under £300?
If you're lucky, yeah.
Okay. Laser-wise, can we replace the laser?
Yeah, I think they are savable. They tend not to go. Actually, they're not famous for failing very quickly.
Okay.
Like some. Yeah.
But there's an upgrade path as well. It's not just this, is it?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to have to put my beer down again, Mike, to show you this. So
here we go. Here we go.
So this is devotion to Beyond the Call of Duty.
It is, yeah. You never put your beer down.
I know, it's terrible. Like you never put your phone down. So
you sound like my wife.
So yes, lo and behold, on the back
we have
this thing here.
A strange-looking socket.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up.
We can take a picky.
Yep. It is a PSXR power supply. Says use PSXR only.
Yeah. And actually, they are quite affordable. Again, secondhand these days. So you've got quite a funky upgrade path here.
Absolutely. So yeah, one of these secondhand is about 300 quid, maybe 350. It's absolutely mint and boxed. Maybe 200, 250 if it's a little bit a bit tatty.
Yes.
And then a PSXR power supply, again about 200 to 250 quid.
Yes.
And you can plug them in, and obviously this sits on top of the PSXR, which comes in the same box, the same style box, but obviously without the hole in the top there, the convertible hood there.
Yeah.
But the PSXR makes a big difference, I think, to the sound of it, both to the sound of the transport and the overall CD player. So it just gives it a cleaner, better power supply, and I mean, we thought, I mean, when you listen to this, the good bits are that it sounds quite feisty and musical, doesn't it?
Yes, without a doubt.
It bounds along, and it gets really into the music.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not a bland, you know, kind of sort of cerebral sounding thing at all.
No, not at all. And it's not sort of screechy and bright, which other players of the era were at all, in any way, shape or form.
Absolutely.
That's the good bits.
Yes, it doesn't sound mechanical and processed either.
No.
I think the biggest criticism of it is it sounds a little bit vague and sort of slightly opaque. There's not quite the same amount of detail that you get from a modern,
There's not.
DAC.
And you know, I think it's kind of lacking a little bit in the top end and the bottom end. If you wanted to be really hypercritical. I haven't heard it with the power supply. Maybe that would help.
Yeah, it does.
But, you know, we've talked about this before, and we talked about this when we did the Marantz CD player recently. You know, the Marantz is actually a really tasty transport. On that, and the DAC lets it down. And we were talking about compromises and so on. Well, it's the same here, I think, because not because the DAC would have necessarily let it down in its day, but I think DACs have moved on. But wouldn't it be interesting to have that with the transport, with the power supply, just use the transport, and then plug it into you know, DAC of your choice?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, as you say, if it's used in that way, it's a great transport. With the PSXR power supply. And taking the coax out makes a great modern transport. It's also lovely to use, isn't it? This top-loading thing. Really
lovely.
Really nice.
I think it's really cool looking.
It's like a kind of digital turntable, isn't it?
And unless you're holding it, you don't get the idea of the premium quality as well. It's a gorgeous.
I mean, the finish is called smooth black. That's what Cyrus calls it. I'm trying to catch it in the light, which is extremely difficult. There you go.
Cabin.
That's it. But it's they don't make this finish anymore. This exact finish. They have different slight variations, but the smooth black is a gorgeous kind of satin black, and the quality finish is perfect. I wish my cars were you know, they had such good paint finish. Really, really nicely done. And the design as well. It looks totally modern, doesn't it?
It really does.
So
it really does.
It kind of looks quite F-35 stealth fighter-ish.
And do you know what? It's so easy to use. And I know that sounds a bit stupid, but if you look at some of, say, the Philips players at the time, which had, do you remember the ones with sort of the myriad of buttons on the front? And, you know, like 1,000 buttons, and the remote control mirrored the amount of buttons on the front. So you get this remote control, and you wouldn't know where to start. Actually, with this, you just put the disc in play, and you can either go forwards, backwards, or pause. And that's about it. And I really like that about it. It's a so total and utter user-friendly device. We plugged it into one of the name DACs, and it sounded really lovely. All of a sudden, it did come alive. The detail was there. The top end was better. The bottom end was much better. You know, so clearly the weak link. We knew this. This isn't rocket science. We knew it was going to be the DAC. But great transport. But we were talking also. We did the review of the Creek 4040 at about the same time as we were doing this. So we had the Mission. The Cyrus.
Thank you, Mike.
The Cyrus with the
cut. Stop the riff. You made a mistake.
The Cyrus with the Creek. And we were saying all you need is a 200 quid pair of loudspeakers, and you'd have a proper hi-fi system. And again, this is kind of right up my alley, isn't it? Because you know you've got another beautiful way of getting entry-level hi-fi without having to spend too much money. And I know it's sort of eBay purchases and going back in time, but you know what's not to like? And an upgrade path with the power supply, and maybe a Chord Mojo DAC or something like that again. Acutist, that kind of thing.
Well, that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it?
It would.
With a PSXR and acutist, would be a very nice kind of modern CD player.
It really would.
But it's a bit of a curio. You don't see people talk about this particular model anymore.
I reckon we may have one or two people who watch Riff who may have one of these, and hopefully will put a comment in saying how much they like theirs. Because I've been really impressed with this. And I'm really chuffed you brought it in, because I haven't heard one before.
No. So and I mean, to me, if I can just make my point that it's 26 years old, and even through its standard DAC that it comes with, it's perfectly enjoyable, isn't it?
Yes,
it's quite a lot of fun to listen to. And you put it into a modern DAC. Yes, there's more detail, there's more space in the sort of higher ranges. There's a little bit more depth and three-dimensionality, but still it has a feisty and fun sound.
It really does.
That you can just sit there and enjoy, and it doesn't take sort of take your head off. It's smooth, tonally smooth, and yet enjoyable.
Yeah.
Which is an unusual combination, because a lot of certainly 80s CD players were some would say very enjoyable, but they were pretty bright as well.
They were, yes.
So it was hide behind the sofa time.
No, absolutely. But that's not like that at all.
Yeah,
I'm really impressed with that.
Yep.
And I think we've sort of got a retro CD player that actually masquerades very nicely as a modern one.
Yeah,
Because as you say, it looks beautiful. It works the part.
I think also if you had your friends around, they probably think it was brand new.
That is a mint example as well.
The only thing that sort of lets it down in terms of modernity is the liquid crystal LC
Just
display.
As you said, yeah.
And but everything else is lovely.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
So there you go. So you heard it here first. I'll be putting this on eBay for £1,000. So
I wondered why
you can have it for £900, Mike.
Thank you. Your generosity overwhelms me.
I know. Yeah.
So let's do a riffometer.
Yep.
What are you going to give it?
8.5.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's a good 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
With the power supply and an external DAC, you're getting close to 10, aren't you?
Not far off.
Yeah. So. Fantastic. So there we are. Thank you for bringing that.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that. That's been great. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. And of course, we'll be back again with another one. Thank you very much for watching.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.